when I've been having discussions with individuals, people that are not on the Bitcoin train like we are, mostly because they just maybe don't know, or maybe they're buying other currencies or whatever. One of the things that I've kind of started talking about, mostly because I've been reading more and more about Bitcoin, and this is what comes up a lot, is just the power that it's having within poverty-stricken countries. You've got, for lack of better words, third-class citizens in some of these countries that don't have a currency that matters. Like we take for what we have in America for granted with the dollar. We don't understand a lot of the problems that some of these third world countries are having, and they are adopting Bitcoin really, really fast. And it makes sense because their local currency is devaluing. So they're getting paid, today, and they're immediately leaving work, going straight to the store and spending all their money, because by that night, there's a very good chance it's going to be worth even less money. Well, over the last several years, individuals have started to buy a little bit of Bitcoin with their, whatever their current currency is. And so they're starting to save a little bit of money. And of course, that's spreading across and becoming more and more infectious. And so when you start saving for the future, you start thinking more about the future. And if you're thinking more about the future, you start to take care of yourself better, health-wise, mental-wise. So overall, you just start to live better because you actually have a future, as opposed to your currency is devaluing. You have to run to the store. You have to spend your money. You're living on the edge, more or less. And so Bitcoin is having a massive impact that we really don't talk about here in this country because it doesn't really affect us. Like for us, I'm saving it for my kids, right? Type of deal. They're surviving off of it and trying to save it, and it's giving them a future. And so what started, as I'm reading more and more articles like this, what became apparent to me is how crazy is it that you have these third world countries that are starving to death that are starting to buy Bitcoin, and they're finding tremendous value and hope in Bitcoin. You have the middle class, take yourself, they rolled out the ETFs. You are able to put some of your IRA into the ETFs. So as the middle class, you're acquiring Bitcoin and see tremendous value in Bitcoin. And then of course you have the wealthy that are, take Wall Street or just, very wealthy individuals, Jamie Dimon, who, likes to hide behind the curve, and they are acquiring Bitcoin because they see tremendous value in it. So pretty crazy that this asset across all these different income levels is creating tremendous value in different ways. To me, that just increases the sheer demand of Bitcoin, right? So one of the things that is going on, let me find this video here. Let me share a screen. That article I just had up there, we'll post that down below in the information so that you can read it, because it goes into kind of some in-depth about it. But here's this quick video. This is Bitcoin Beach in El Salvador. You've probably heard about. This has been going on. This video I think is a couple years old, but they're building homes down there, and people are able to buy these homes and pay their mortgage in Bitcoin. So let's have a listen.
In a small coastal town in El Salvador, Bitcoin is helping unbanked families access loans and pay for their homes for the first time. About 70% of El Salvador is unbanked, preventing many families from having access to a safe place to live. Without a bank account, getting a loan or a mortgage is virtually impossible. Most people resort to using up all of their savings or borrowing from relatives for even small purchases. Digital payment tools and apps are also not available. This means that most families are forced to spend hours traveling just to pay for bills in person with cash, pen, and paper. High fees, minimum income requirements, and corruption have kept families out of the traditional banking system. For millions of people like Salim, the idea of having a bank account and owning a home was only a pipe dream.
Está enmarcada entre difícil e imposible, ya que la mayoría de bancos acá piden una serie enorme de requisitos.
Banks provide us with multiple benefits and tools to make payments, build creditworthiness, and ultimately access loans to own a home. But for those left outside the banking system, those opportunities simply don't exist. But blockchain technology is changing that. Salim has a smartphone, a Bitcoin wallet on his phone, cash, and a mortgage. Not too long ago, Salim used to travel 3 hours just to pay his rent and walked away with no proof of payment. Now, he's paying his mortgage in seconds without ever leaving his family. Salim converts his cash into Bitcoin at a local ATM. Then he sends payment with ease, speed, and security. Also, all of his payments are recorded, giving him a credit history he couldn't build before.
Y únicamente necesito hacer un clic y tener los fondos disponibles para realizar mi pago de una manera instantánea.
Salim doesn't have to rely on a traditional bank to safely house his family. This new technology is helping him and hundreds more families break the cycle of poverty by creating financially sustainable pathways to homeownership.
Bitcoin ha traído una...
You're muted. There we go. They're building homes down there, and they've never owned a home. They've never had a bank account. Because they've never had a bank account, they would never, ever have been able to own a home, but they can do it through Bitcoin. So, you know, you have the poorest of the poor being able to do that. Then you have the middle class, like we were talking about, that are acquiring Bitcoin and finding tremendous value in it. And then also the wealthy. So for me, that clearly that just tells us that the sheer demand is growing more and more and more, which just underpins all these great things about Bitcoin, which is why a lot of people get so serious when they start talking about Bitcoin versus fiat currency and whatever. But it amazes me that, and that's why I've started talking about it with other people that have not dove into Bitcoin, and I start explaining to them, because that's something, even if you don't understand anything about Bitcoin, if you understand that poorest of the poor are using it, the middle class is using it, the wealthy are buying it hand over fist, like that tells you there's sheer demand for these things.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, myself included, get kind of zoned in on why I'm buying it. You know, like you said, I'm hoping that it goes up a little bit, and I'm hoping that by retirement I've got a little bit more and that it's worth a little bit more. But when you see stuff like that, you're like, man, could you imagine going from our age, never having a bank account in your entire life, going from that to having Bitcoin, like, and being able to skip all of the... I mean, it's obviously great to have a bank, and there's so many things they could do, but imagine getting to skip all of the terrible things about a bank and going straight to Bitcoin. They went from walking to jumping into a Ferrari. I mean, the Bitcoin really has taken care of a lot of the issues that modern banking has, and it's just awesome when you see, like you said, every range from high class, middle class, and poor countries that don't have the banking facilities that we do are able to use this one currency. I mean, just to live, you know that it's got to be worth. Unable to verbalize what it, but it's just like, well, that's money. That's it. No matter what country you're in,
hope.
Yeah, no matter what country, no matter what currency you use, no matter where you're at, I mean, all you need is a smartphone, which are, you know, everybody has a smartphone now, and you don't even need a smartphone. You just need access to anybody with a smartphone,
right?
And you've got access to your money, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it's Bitcoin is saving the world. I mean, it's literally for everybody. It's creating hope where there wasn't hope before, which to me just means sheer demand, which means just like I tell people, just start buying it. Buy $10 a month, buy $5 a month, buy $1,000 a month, whatever you can afford, just start buying it. Because whether it goes straight up from here or it rides a wave for a while, it's doing big things, and it's not just money. So a lot of hope coming out of what Bitcoin's doing across all income levels.
Yeah, and one last thing. You know, you think about that, well, that would make sense to do that with any money, like dollars. Just get a little bit. But if you're just getting American dollars and you're just tucking them away in a safe spot in your house, it's like that $100 next year is worth $95 or can buy $95 worth of stuff. And then that next year can only buy $85. You know, it's like you're almost hiding it away while it's getting more and more worthless. And Bitcoin's the exact opposite. You know, there are only 21 million, and depending on who you're talking to, there's going to be 21 million by the time it's all done in 100 years. There's probably thousands, if not tens of thousands or more, that are already lost in the, so maybe we're talking 17 million Bitcoins or so, 18 million. And it's like, and if everybody in the world, which is about 8 billion people, have access to this, they're not making more. It's not the American government that goes, oh, you guys need some money, and turn on the money printer.
Yeah.
That's it. So if you take a little bit now and hide it, then in 20 years, it hasn't gone down in value. In fact, now that everybody has some, it has only gone up in value. So the sooner you do it, the more you do it, the better. The longer you have it, the better. It's the exact opposite of everything that's wrong with the current fiat situation.
Which is why it was created in the first place.